Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are well. Today is the 18th of February, and it is Wednesday. Hopefully, all you guys are having a wonderful week so far. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month, and all funds go to me. This is a viewer-supported show, so all the support is truly greatly appreciated. And with that being said, hopefully all you guys are doing wonderful, and let's get into today's episode. Moving on into our headlines and history as we do. The headline we had from today is City bars snow workers under 30 as too lazy. This is from February 18th of 1934. New York City's Department of Sanitation announced that it would only hire men over 30 as workers to remove snow after observing that younger men loaf too much on the job. The Times reported today applicants must be at least 18 years old and able to perform heavy physical labor, according to the department's website. This, of course, is really interesting. And I wonder if that's, one of the many reasons and what feeds into the stigma that young people are essentially too lazy to work, right? And in my experience, that isn't the case. I've always been a hard worker growing up, and maybe that's just because I grew up on a farm. All the people that I knew around me grew up on farms. We were always hard workers. So maybe that's just that. But, I've never really seen that personally. I don't think Gen Z is really lazy. I think Gen Z is very hardworking, and maybe that's just me, but that's my experience. Outside of that, though, moving on into our headlines from today, as we do. Moving on into our highlight for today, I have something interesting I want to talk about. That being the new TikTok AI chatbot. It is so annoying. So why does TikTok have an AI chatbot? Truly, every single app, it feels like, has to have an AI chatbot at this point. It's so dumb. First, it was Snapchat. I remember that one a few years ago coming out and everyone hating it. I've never used it at all. And every once in a while, I'll get like a notification from it. It's so annoying. Then it was Instagram. Instagram has that now, I believe. I'm sure a whole other list of social medias have had it in that time frame. We have the Grok AI on Twitter. It's all over the place at this point, and it's stupid. Not every single social media platform needs an AI chatbot. It's a TikTok is a video scrolling platform. You are on the platform to watch stuff. There is no reason you should have to talk to an AI, nor do I want to talk to an AI on TikTok, right? I know that they've used AI on TikTok as a platform for a very long time now when it comes to translations, when it comes to captions, when it comes to the algorithm, etc. But why do we need a chatbot? Truly, there's no reason for that. Not to mention, you can't turn the thing off, and every time you ask it how you can turn it off, it blatantly lies to you about how that's the case. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, I could live with it as well, but it's in the way. It's in the way. I don't know about you guys, but every time I scroll on this platform, it seems like I am, touching and clicking on this AI chatbot button that I do not want to click on. It is so annoying. AI isn't even cool at this point, dude. Like, it is annoying and in the way every single place I go. I miss when the stuff I saw on the internet was always made by a human. I fucking hate AI. Sorry for cussing, not really. I'm not a fan of robots either. I really wish that we as a society could get back to doing things ourselves. Fortunately, I don't know that that will ever be the case again. Take a sip of water as we do. Moving on into the Trump administration segment today, the United States is moving closer to war with Iran. The United States is moving closer to war with Iran as Trump is floating the idea of potential strikes as soon as Saturday. But nothing is confirmed, according to CBS. According to officials, the conversation is ongoing as the White House is weighing the risks of escalation, along with political and military consequences. Pentagon personnel are reportedly being moved to the Middle Eastern region as we speak. I'm so excited to go to the war with the Middle East for weapons of mass destruction that were never there in the first place. Isn't that so great? Just like we've been doing since the Cold War, guys. Yay! It sure is great to see that after we failed in Venezuela, we're returning to our roots and going back to the Middle East. Wonderful. on a more serious note, all of these conflicts need to end. We have no reason to be in the Middle East. There are no nuclear weapons there. There is no drugs there. There is no shit there except for oil. And that's why we're there in the first place. But they'll never tell you that because they don't want you to know that, right? Even though we all know it, right? Uh, there is no reason to go to the war with the Middle East. There is no nuclear weapons there. There is no nothing there. The only reason we are there is to help the interests of Israel and to help the interests of the American military industrial complex and provide us things like resources from oil and so many other things that come from the Middle Eastern region. It truly is stupid. There is no reason for us to be in these conflicts, yet we're going to be lured into them over and over again because of countries like Israel and a bunch of other reasons. Anyways, in some other news, Trump has transferred a drug trafficker to a five-star hotel in New York and is paying for it on your tax dollars. Isn't that wonderful? For someone who has rallied against drug traffickers, Trump really doesn't seem to care when it comes to his buddies, as former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is tried and convicted in the United States for drug trafficking, is now staying in a five-star hotel on your taxpayer dollars, following his pardon by Trump last year. The man who was sentenced to 45 years for helping bring in more than 400 tons of cocaine into the United States is currently located at the five-star Wallendorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, being paid for at the expense of U.S. taxpayer dollars, of course, because Trump wants him to stay there. As I said, when it came to the Venezuelan conflicts, they do not care about drugs. They never did in the first place. They never have, and they never will. Want to know why? Because a majority of these rich people are on drugs a majority of the day, right? Look at Elon Musk. Look at all the videos of him in the White House. You can very clearly see that he is on ketamine and a list of other substances, right? But also, drugs make the economy move. They are a very pivotal role and a very important role in not just the U.S. economy, but really the global economy, right? There are a lot of things that have been funded and propped up by drugs in this country historically. I'm not going to go into all of it right now. It's a whole huge rabbit hole, if you will. But there are a lot of things and a lot of impacts, positive impacts that drugs have had on the United States economy, right? There is unfortunately no reason for the rich or the Trump administration to stop the flow of drugs into the United States. Yet they insist on lying to you and saying that they will, because drugs are bad. They kill people. They kill a shit ton of people. But at the end of the day, the rich people in this country and those who are lobbying for all of the things to happen in this country truly do not care less. In other news, Trump has threatened to attack the United Kingdom. Trump has taken to Truth Social threatening to attack the United Kingdom. In this post, he wrote, "I've been telling Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom that leases are no good when it comes to countries, and that he is making a big mistake by entering a 100-year lease with whoever is claiming the right, title, and interest of Diego Garcia." I can never figure out how to pronounce the second word in this country's name for the life of me. I have done pronunciation videos. I've done all the things, and for some reason, I still cannot pronounce that island's name. It is, as a geography enjoyer, it really upsets me. Anyways, strategically located in the Indian Ocean, our relationship with the United Kingdom is a strong and powerful one and has been for many years. But Prime Minister Starmer is losing control of a very important island, but claims entities never known of before. In our opinion, they are fictitious in nature. Should Iran decide to make a deal, it may be necessary for the United States to use Diego Garcia. I'm going to say that's how you pronounce it. And the airfield located in Fairford in order to eradicate the potential attack of a highly unstable and dangerous regime, an attack that would possibly be made on the United Kingdom as well as other countries. Prime Minister Starmer should not lose control for any reason of Diego Garcia by entering the tenuous, at best, 100-year lease. This land should not be taken away from the UK, and if it is allowed to be, I just refreshed my entire page. Isn't that great? Let's get back into that. Okay, it should not be taken away from the UK, and if it is allowed to be, it will be blight on our great ally. We will always be ready and willing to and able to fight for the UK, but they have to remain strong in face of wokeism and other problems put before them. That one was rough, yeah, but we made it through. Threatening an ally over an island. Where have I heard this one before? Isn't that wonderful? This post should be on the very ground for impeachment. The UK is one of the United States' top U.S. allies, and we should not be threatening them to or making any attacks on them in the slightest. There is no reason for that to be the case. This man is the president of the United States, and he is threatening the top allies of the United States. Not to mention, he is creating a divide across this country. He's creating problems across this country. Every single where you go, Trump is an issue. The man should not be president. He needs to be removed from office as soon as possible. Anyways, moving on into our segment about the Epstein files, where we have one topic here for tonight. A UN panel says the Epstein files has likely contained crimes against humanity. A group of United Nations experts has suggested the abuses carried out by Epstein met the definition of crimes against humanity. Experts on the UN Human Rights Council said in a statement, so grave is the scale, nature, systematic character, and transnational reach of these atrocities against women and girls that a number of them may reasonably meet the legal threshold of crimes against humanity. This is kind of common knowledge, of course, but I'd love to hear the UN and see the UN get access to their own investigation on the files that Congress has. I think that would be a very great thing to do. Clearly this has had impacts globally, and I think an organization like the United Nations, who has connections globally, should be able to investigate that. I think it would absolutely be great, as long as all of their findings go public, of course. But yes, Epstein and the people involved with him did commit crimes against humanity, and none of that should be excused. All of those people who are involved in the files for horrible things should be hung, and that is something I will continue to say, as I do quite frequently. Quite frankly, as Trump loves to say. Anyways, moving on into our segment about ICE, we have some really horrible news as the 2-month-old baby that had bronchitis has unfortunately been deported. The 2-month-old baby in ICE custody, who is in the hospital for bronchitis and had become unresponsive, has been deported by ICE following his discharge. The boy, his mom, his dad, and his older sister were deported to Mexico. In a post on Twitter, Representative Joaquin Castro said, to unnecessarily deport a sick baby and his entire family is heinous. My staff and I are in contact with Juan's family. We are laser focused on tracking them down, holding them accountable for this monstrous action, demanding specific details on their whereabouts and well-being, and ensuring their safety. They said the worst of the worst, including all of those 2-month-olds. Wouldn't want to have them out there causing terror in the streets. It's such a problem to have 2-month-old children, spreading those drugs, selling all those drugs in the streets, right? Such a massive issue in this country, isn't it? Look, I don't care where you came from. I don't care where you go. As long as you are here in the United States, living a normal life, not causing a problem, not killing people, not harming people, you should be allowed to live here freely. And that is a majority of the people who ICE is actively going after, right? Anyone should be able to come to this country and live a life. The majority of the reason why a lot of the people in this country are not citizens is because of how horrible our immigration system is, right? Fuck ICE, shut down all of these facilities. No child should be in these disgusting hellholes, especially a 2-month-old child. These are facilities meant for adults, and not even adults should be left in these facilities. There is no reason in hell why a child should be in an ICE facility, and any facility that has a child in it should be shut down. The administration should be prosecuted for holding children in these facilities, and I really, really, really do hope that we can see that one day, because it is fucking disgusting. Not a fan of ICE, never have been, never will be. I believe everyone should be able to live in the United States. We are a country built off immigrants. Literally one of the most important symbols for our country, being the Statue of Liberty, is an immigrant and has been a light for immigrants in this country for years at this point, right? It is so stupid. The argument against immigrants is so dumb. Just as the argument with trans people, we are using them as a scapegoat for no reason. It is how fascism goes. It fuels fascism off of hate, off of fear, off of all of these other things. People are too dumb to realize it. It's so dumb. The Trump administration should not have gotten this far. Neither should have their supporting base. Just people are dumb. It pains me to hear that people in the United States like history so much, but so many of them don't know jack shit about it. Truly, it pains me to hear that. In other news, the Department of Homeland Security is exposing their own employees to asbestos. Because of the urgent demolition of the Department of Homeland Security campus in Washington, D.C., that Kristi Noem forced to happen because she claimed the structures were unsafe, Department of Homeland Security employees who had to leave the facility for St. Elizabeth's facility have now been exposed to asbestos. According to insider workers at the facility, they have been seen in full PPE taking out asbestos as other DHS staff walks by and with shirts and ties breathing in the air without any protection at all. I cannot believe that this administration refuses to believe that asbestos is a good thing or a bad thing. Sorry, you know what I'm trying to say there. There is a reason why we got rid of asbestos, and the fact that they are continuously saying that it is not a problem to me is wild. I truly feel bad for all of these employees. Nobody should have to be in a building during an asbestos removal at all, right? And I really do hope that these employees sue because of this, because there is no reason that they should be allowing their life to be put at risk. This administration and their views are putting the lives of Americans at risk, right? And that is not something that is okay. That is something that needs to be argued in the courts, especially by these workers who are having their lives put at risk by the people who employ them. And that's not okay in the slightest. Anyways, in other news, a 30-car pileup, if I could speak, has unfortunately killed 5 and left a ton of other injured in Colorado. A 30-car pileup yesterday left multiple dead on I-25 south of Pueblo, Colorado. According to Colorado State Patrol, at least 30 individuals were involved, or at least 30 vehicles were involved, sorry, and 5 people have been confirmed to be dead, as well as 28 individuals injured. Many of the injured have left the hospital at this time and are recovering. Of course, my condolences go to all of those impacted in this horrible situation. This was a massive incident, and I believe a few semis were unfortunately involved as well. With yesterday's wind, sadly, I am not surprised this was happening. In Denver yesterday, the wind was going crazy. I thought I was going to blow away. It was storming bad. I think it is still storming quite bad. The wind seems to have slowed down a little bit so far today. Looking outside just now, but it was pretty bad this morning. The storms are getting bad across the country, but that's how Mother Nature goes this time of year, right? In other news, the Pope has rejected Trump. The Pope and the Vatican have rejected Trump's invitation to Trump's Board of Peace. A statement from the Vatican City's Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, read, "For us, there are some critical issues. One concern is at the international level. It should be above all that the United Nations manages these crisis situations. This is one of the points which we have insisted." Honestly, I agree. The United Nations exists for a reason, right? They should be handling these situations when it comes to this Board of Peace, not Trump, right? His Board of Peace is a stupid idea, anyways. He is one of the least peaceful people in the world. He is currently considering on whether or not he should attack Iran. We attacked Venezuela. We are threatening to attack Greenland, Iceland, the United Kingdom, and so many other countries, right? Trump is not a peaceful individual, and he is the last one to be trusted to bring peace. He needs to go, in all honesty. I agree with the Pope here and the Vatican here. I always forget that the Vatican is a country. Of course, the Vatican is a country. I'm very well aware of it being a microstate. But every once in a while, that's not something that rings in my head a lot. That always slips through my mind. And it's super, super interesting. But hey, I think it's cool. I absolutely do. Think it's interesting. Um, I'm not a fan of religious states at all. At all. I'm not going to say I support the idea of the Vatican, but there's a lot of history in the Vatican that I have, research myself, and it is definitely a very beautiful country, and I'd like to visit it one day. Anyways, moving on into our final topic for tonight, a Republican congressman who had an affair with a staffer. This staffer has died due to lighting herself on fire a few months later. Staffer to Republican Representative Tony Gonzalez has admitted that she had an affair with the Texas Republican months before she fatally lit herself on fire, according to text screenshots from the New York Post. Regina Santos Alves said to a colleague that she had an affair with her boss, and she said she was fine. When asked to comment, Gonzalez said that he was not going to engage in these personal smears and instead focused on helping President Trump secure the border and improve the lives of all Texans. I think an investigation should be done here because I don't think people just regularly light themselves on fire. I don't know much about this situation, but an affair and a girl being lit on fire, a few months after that just seems a little suspicious to me. And I think an investigation, by all means, should be done here, right? It is definitely horrendous to hear this. The fact that she had an affair with that really seems interesting to me. Again, people out of all the reasons that people pass away and go of their own, self needs or of their own self choice, lighting yourself on fire is not one of the easiest ways, not one of the most calmest ways, not one of the most quickest ways, right? And I highly doubt that this woman lit herself on fire herself. Maybe she did, but that just doesn't seem like a right way to go out. It doesn't seem like a way that most people would want to go out, right? Maybe that's just me. I think it's definitely an interesting situation. Outside of that, though, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. It's definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, that is for sure. If you're new here, though, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. If you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month. This is a viewer-supported show, so all the support is greatly appreciated. I want to give a huge shout out to both of our paid subscribers, Nan and Sean Zone over on Substack. Thank you all so much for being a subscriber. It truly means the world to me. Helps me out a lot. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And I will see you all in tomorrow's episode.